Welcome back, everybody. This is Lucid. I'm joined by Maryland.
Good afternoon now.
And yeah, we got another turn for you. Turn 22. So
Well,
I guess I'll do the summary last time.
Sure, like I predicted, we're going to see some interesting fights.
Right. We basically got Jotun, who's stretching himself into vulturing Bandar is really the right word, because Bandar's not even going to fight him. But still, it's taking his military. He's spreading himself farther southwards. And this is after just conquering Mictlan. And he's also now venturing into Vanarusian lands. And Vanarus seems to be piled up in his capital.
Just quick glance at the flags. I don't see pink.
Right. No move from Pelagia yet.
And I see a lot of gray.
Yeah, I think after some of these first wars have ended, some of these players are now going for thrones. We saw some of that a couple turns ago. We know Pangaea is getting ready to go after a throne.
And Uruk just took one.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into this turn. But I think for some players, it's kind of winding down to be a slower portion of the game after their first wars. And for others, which are maybe getting a little overextended like Jotunheim, things are ramping up. A message has arrived from Satis. A war with Jotun may break out. My chances of winning are probably 5% considering expansion and slow war.
Well, okay, so I would think that this is a choice he can make if he wants to fight Jotun.
Right.
And we talked just last episode that, there's some diplomatic options. He might just be able to buy a bit of territory.
Yeah. Satis only has one fight this turn, and it's in this fort.
Nice. And he lost one guy.
Right.
Probably not even going to use his gems.
Yeah.
Okay, so he decided that he could do this without risking his Sobex. So he's just doing it with skeletons and his retinue of scorpions.
Right, and this is a pretty good setup, too, because if things actually did kind of close back here with these guys do make excellent bodyguards for the... I mean, they're going to butcher stuff that gets into contact with the mages.
And he didn't really need to use his Marsh Masters are just doing... Because see Eagle Eyes, so he was planning that if he needed it, he had evocations. But they just fall off script and just make skeletons.
He didn't have any gems, which is interesting.
Just on the Neater.
Yeah.
Or just on his Pretender. But I mean, you don't bother buffing Eagle Eyes if all you're going to do is make skeletons.
Right.
And I saw Eagle Eyes going up all over the place.
Yeah, it could have been... my guess is he was lazy and actually kept the same script, which was Eagle Eyes, Shadow Bolt, Shadow Blast.
Could be. He just didn't leave gems on him, so he didn't waste them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is just completely free. Vanarus gave this up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We don't have a message from Vanarus, but I want to cover them because we're now in the Vanarus conflict. So last turn, Vanarus was sitting in his capital.
And he punched back.
And this turn, he punched back.
Against PD there.
With what looks like a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
Which is fine. This is a low cost, retake your stuff army.
Yeah, if it works, it works. And if not, you've lost little.
This was a high commitment army, though.
And what's he fighting?
He's got Vanarusian Berserkers. I think just the one PD.
Oh, just PD. Okay. But he thought that he might have to fight... Oh, and gems.
This is probably... My guess is small air elementals. That's my guess is... elementals.
And earth power. Probably summon earth power for the earth gem.
Right, and he's got some blood slaves here for presumably some imps.
Yeah.
Some Oathbound in the middle. Some of these guys... Are these guys kitted up as thugs?
No.
Having some of these air elementals is actually really good in case he bumps into a Scrotty. Because they will tear a Scrotty up that isn't prepared for it.
Yeah, without some good shock resist.
Right.
That went fine for him. So So he ended up at very low commitment.
Yeah.
Because Jotun dodged.
Right. Jotun dodged, went on top of this fort, locked down fort production. He's also got an extremely safe move out. Jotun can just move here, and there's no way that this army can catch him. So
Good move. That was a good move.
Yeah, this gets to an interesting thing, which is like when you think about like, okay, what move should Jotun do? Because the thing is the move for Jotunheim is obviously to move here. You would never keep this army here when this army can come here and kill it. But the thing is if Vanarus knows that Jotunheim knows that the best move for him is to go here, then Vanarus should only ping to like kick off a trivial force with here, and they should move their big army here and ignore this.
I would be moving his armies to push towards Jotun's cap,
right,
and threaten to cut off. Because if he moves to that one you're hovering over right now, he's cut off Jotun's little army there.
Right.
Now, of course, Jotun can then maneuver it, but Jotun can't get that army all the way to safety.
Which means, because we get into this weird circular logic of dominions, what's the optimal move? If the best move really for Vanarus is to move this army here, the best move for this army is actually to follow in right behind them and open up raiding all on the backside of their capital.
Yeah, or even split it.
Yeah, and this is where you get into like very weird. What's the optimal move in?
I would argue that players. Army of Jotuns you're hovering over is effectively already dead because it won't get out in time.
Yeah, if this route's cut off.
Right.
But it could toggle back and forth here endlessly too.
Right. So since it's already not part of Jotun's core armies and it's just a tidbit of a leftover, use it as commandos, just have it rampage and make a mess.
Yeah.
And go for the initiative.
Right.
Because it's already too far away to get home.
And the Veti appear to have... well, no, I guess they pulled back. I think these were the Veti that were here last turn. It looks like they pulled back here. So
see, now, there's only one bummer for Vanarus. By taking that forest, he opens his front back up with Satis. If he'd have left that forest, then Satis would have had no way to intervene.
Right.
Unless he wanted to pick a fight with Jotun.
Right.
I would not have moved there.
Oh, you wouldn't have taken this. You would have let...
I would not. No, because I would have left it as a Jotun province and then starved it off by working my way behind it, like to the south of it.
Yeah. Well,
I think that would have been my play.
Little known to Vanarus is that Satis is actually anticipating attacking Jotunheim anyway. Right? Like, that was the message we got from Satis, which was...
That's what he said, but that might just be because he was cut off from any further expansion anywhere and he has to do something.
Yeah.
Now that this is now a Vanarus province again, if I was Satis, I would simply say, great, I got 2 nice armies, lots of magi, I've finished the fort, I'm safe, let's just push towards Vanarus's cap.
That makes sense.
That's what I do.
And if he has Wailing Winds, which we're speculating he does, it is possible that Vanarus literally cannot fight him. That
yeah, it is.
Even in hostile dominion, he just takes his pretender and just marches his ass right up here on the throne. And as long as he's got enough death gems to do Wailing Wind every fight, Vanarus just can't actually close before most of his stuff runs away.
By the way, I'm pretty sure if we jump back a turn, that was cold, that fort. Now it's hot.
Yeah.
It's neutral. So he brought in, I think I saw a Holy Three, one of his, can't remember the name of them, but drawing a blank there.
Oh, these, Lizard Kings.
Lizard Kings. So he's doing a good job of pushing his dominion.
Yeah, he's got 4 candles here now.
Yeah, well done. That was a good move. So he's putting himself at risk for a short time in the first initial push into the cold, but then he's quickly preaching in to get it hot again.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, Maryland. I think it's a really good point. And if Satis is already locked into they're going to be fighting Jotun, that could put them into this, 3-way thing where they're all fighting each other. But right now, Satis has the option to maybe bail Jotunheim out of this war and say, hey, we can be at peace, and if you let me be, I'm just going to go cap him. And for Jotunheim, that would be great. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, it would. It's a good negotiating point.
Because if he doesn't, he gets in a weird three-way things, and I don't. Three-way things are very weird.
Well, you also, in a three-way thing, you also have the problem that you get accidents. Two armies that weren't supposed to fight end up fighting. Somebody gets an army wiped, or you get two armies shattered and spread all over.
Right.
And Jotun sure as heck doesn't want to fight against Wailing Winds right now either.
True.
He will have options for when he can, because if he can buy Flesh Eaters or get some Berserk on Scratty, then you can ignore it.
Yeah, but I mean, Satis can just bring, some Mind Burners too, and that will deal with Scratty pretty good. But
well, then you start having to put a lot of gear on a Thug.
Right.
He's got multiple threat vectors. And
yeah,
it's always nicest with a Thug that you can estimate or guesstimate well what your threat will be, and you only have to deal with, say, 2 kinds of threat. But when you're starting to deal with 3 or 4,
yeah, it starts to become an intractable problem.
Well, it just becomes you're spending too many gems on gear.
Right, and there's something that can still die anyway.
Yeah, I mean, fit for purpose, and I've been guilty of that myself. It's really easy when you got something like a Fomorian King to think, oh, this is a super combatant. Well, kind of. But
yeah. But sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just dies.
Yeah.
So this is going to be really interesting to see what Satis does. The situation's interesting because Jotun appears to be reasonably overextended on this front. He does have Scrotty, which are going to be difficult to deal with. But Satis has the tools to deal with it if he brings like Mind Burn and later on Soul Slay. People may not know the Scrotty actually loses a lot of MR in their wolf form.
Right.
In this form, they have a fine amount of MR, 17. When they switch to the wolf form, I don't know if we can see it here.
We'd have to open last turn, I think.
Unless there's a battle down here with...
Well, I could probably...
Yeah.
If I can see it in the mod inspector.
I think it goes from 17 down to 12 or something. They lose a lot of MR in their wolf form. So they're it's like the main Scrotty vulnerability.
They lose 3, and that's significant.
Okay, I thought it was more,
They go to
but yeah.
14.
14, okay.
According to oh no, that's the wolf, not the werewolf. Hang on. No, 14 again.
Okay.
But still, the difference between 14 against unbuffed, you're talking most astral damage rolls are a start base of 12 plus a DRN.
Right.
Against 17, that's a pretty slim chance to penetrate. Against a 14, it's in that 30% chance, which is significant.
Yeah. It's
3 points of MR, under 20 is significant.
Right, and you run out of cheap ways to buff MR. Like, you can do the anti-magic amulet. Okay, that gets you to 17. Well, now what are you going to do next? Like, the lead shields, 10 gems.
Yeah, but lead shields are awful.
Right. The armor of souls. The armor of souls is 40 slaves.
Yeah.
Or 50 slaves or whatever. It's expensive. You like to get past, and the thing
Rainbow
is,
armor is fairly cost effective.
Yeah.
And so many good benefits.
Yeah.
But you need the air nature crosspath, and that's not that common.
Right. So the Jotun Scrutty are usually the best way to attack them is normally through their MR or their shock resistance. But so it'll be interesting if Satis might be able to make hay, but he'll need to be able to deal with the Scrotty. And that would be interesting because these guys are kind of extended. But on the other hand, Pelagia wants this throne. So now you're in like a 4-way.
Yeah, this is a potential 4-way. Now, Pelagia did not move, and I'm surprised.
Well, we have a message from Jotunheim here, and I was reading it a little bit before you, while you were on your break. So I guess we'll pick this up because this sheds a little light. Apparently, there's a nap 2 with Arco, with Pelagia, between Jotunheim and.
Okay.
So it says I have a nap 2, but don't trust it, which I think is good. I wouldn't. Arco has broken a nap with me before. But he also keeps it sometimes, so I don't know. Naps with Arco, I think, are good. I think it's kind of like it would be like napping you. Like, he'll keep them most of the time, but then he'll break them sometimes.
I keep them probably 98% of the time.
Yeah.
But that 2% of the time is usually for awfully good reasons.
The time he took it was I ended our nap with him, and there was an indie that had taken a province of his on my border, and our nap was expiring, like counting down.
Okay.
And I sent a thug to take the indie province because I was like, whatever, our thing's going to be over in a turn anyway, and if we bump, who cares? And he didn't say anything when it happened. But that next turn, and we still have like 2 turns left for our nap to count down. That next turn, he elfed me with like 6 different things. And he was like, oh, I didn't violate our nap. It was because you took that province that was indie the turn before.
Yeah.
All right, asshole. That's a nap break in my book. But
it doesn't matter what you think of that. What matters is what other players who hear about it think of it,
right,
and whether or not they think that he was legit.
Sure. And he ended up winning that game anyway. So it's
that's like the if you remember in tournament 13, it was on turn 10 or something, and I had an NAP with the player who left, and he said, I want this province from you, and I said no, and he took it anyways. And so I publicly announced that to say this was a violation of our NAP, therefore I no longer consider myself bound to an NAP.
I think that's fine.
Well, it's just putting spin on it.
Well, sure.
It's political spin.
Well, sure.
Because the reality is I was probably going to do it anyways for other reasons.
Oh, end it or break it?
Break it. Because...
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but anyway, the player involved was becoming unbelievably hard to deal with.
Yeah. Well, let's not get into too much of that, but yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so I did use it as a justification.
Sure.
And I think, that's something about the whole thing about the value of non-aggression pacts is if you know somebody well and you've played with them and you know their personality, then you could probably trust that they're as good as they should be. But sometimes you don't take a non-aggression pact from a player you don't know. They might come from a group where they just kind of laugh at them.
Yeah.
Or, there's all kinds of possibilities involved.
I think if you feel like the non-aggression pact has in some ways been invalidated and you bring it up in group chat, like all chat, to resolve it, or to say like you're getting out of it, that's one thing. But if any time a player is exiting a non-aggression pact by a mass elfing, it's pretty dirty. It's pretty dirty.
I think that was quite deliberate.
Yeah, that's pretty dirty.
Mine was a little different in that he caught me somewhat off guard, and anyways,
we can spend all day.
We could discuss diplomacy and non-aggression pacts all day, and it's interesting stuff because in talking with you over it by voice, where you can get a better discussion of it, I've gained some more skill with my diplomacy. And you were saying, having played against Arco, you learned some lessons on some techniques of diplomacy that you'd not tried before.
Yeah, no, Arco's also very good with diplomacy too. I mean, he like my hit-on game, I was losing a war with him, but he was scary enough and he's a good enough player. But I was causing enough attrition in the war that he wanted out of it because I had gotten another player to attack him. And he bought me off at great expense. He gave me a fort with like a farmland fort and like a couple provinces just so I would screw off once somebody else had declared war on him. And that other player still hates me to this day for doing that to him. But that was honestly more damage to Arco that I inflicted by making that deal with him than I could have done by attacking him, I think. So,
but the thing is,
but he's very good at Diplo.
But an awful lot of people, once they've made a decision, a strategic decision to pick a fight, they're like a pit bull.
Yeah.
In fighting a bull in a pit, they just hang on for everything and they never let go. And this can wreck you, because if you have overcommitted and you're overextended, and you keep fighting somebody, even if they've said, "Hey, enough, I'll buy you off," and no, I'm going to kill you. Well, yeah, you probably will.
Yeah.
But in the process, you weaken yourself.
Yeah.
If you have to overcommit to a war
Yeah, a lot of that is hard knowledge to gain, though, in Dominions, because a lot of it is understanding how the war will play out. And it's often, like, if you can finish killing somebody off and it's not too much great expense or the rest of the game isn't going to go sideways, it's a good thing to do that sometimes. But other times, it's not, because they're going to be able to defend themselves well enough that it's not going to be worth it compared to other alternatives.
Yeah, like parking a great big expensive army on somebody's fort for 8 turns because it's just so hard to siege. That's an army that could be doing something else.
Right. Or, like that Agartha army that got their stack wiped earlier in this game.
Right,
that set them back a lot.
Sure did.
So, okay. So let's finish this message. I'm a bit overextended on the throne. I got an app with Arco. I don't trust it. And Satis might decide to go for me rather than Vanarus, which that's very perceptive of him because we're getting that exact same message from Satis.
Except, I think it's changed. If I was Satis, I'd be recalculating.
Right. And that was a very good point you made.
But he wrote this before Vanarus made that move.
Right. But so certainly Satis is also eyeing that throne independently. Absolutely. All his armies are near that throne. He's probably wants at least one throne, anyway. But that throne is potentially, I don't even know that MacGuffin isn't the right word, but it's in some ways that throne is a trap because it's Pelagia's got their eye on it. Jotunheim has their eye on it. Satis has their eye on it. It can be the cause of a lot of conflict.
To use a metaphor, maybe more of a red herring than a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
So interesting thing here, we can't see it, I don't think. But since he's already got point buffing Magi there with Swarm, he's got potential that the province defense on that throne could make a big difference.
Yes.
If it has heavy cavalry or, I don't know, something that'll soak up a good buff and you could get it's hard to buff PD, but you can do it.
Or just having, especially if he has a Flesh Eater, which he doesn't have now because he says Construction 4 is up next and Flesh Eaters are Construction 4. But as soon as he has that up, he'll have Flesh Eaters, which means, a little bit of PD will go a long way. You'll get the PD will give you enough time to get the buffs on your Scrotty, and then your Scrotty will run in and be really hard to kill.
Have you seen, I've seen somebody do it, and I don't remember who, but have you seen where somebody buys a cheap line of chaff, puts them in an extended line in front of the PD to block the PD long enough to buff it? Yeah,
I've seen that. It's
tricky
cool
stuff.
Yeah, it's tricky, yeah, but you can do it. Okay. Construction 4 is up next turn. He's currently got Alt 4, Enchantment 2, Construction 3. Then Enchantment... Yeah.
He's done that's good targeted research.
Yeah.
That's good. He was worried his research was behind, but he's targeted accurately,
I
would argue.
Yep. Then Enchantment for Cloud Trapeze for his god. And he also has those Air Mages now, too.
Right.
And then the usual skeleton summon communions that I've seen being used by every single Scrotty nation on video. That's true.
Oh, is that a meme now?
Turbo communions, yeah. I think that's what...
Well, turbo communions, yeah, but to use them to make skeletons? I don't know.
No, that's normally what turbo communions get used for, is skelly spam. You've never seen that?
I have not.
Okay. Well, you're going to get to see it this game, apparently. Yeah.
But I haven't played a Heim turbo communion, kind of a really good turbo communion nation in quite a long time. I'm more likely to play the 60 gold Astral 1 slaves, and they don't turbo worth a damn.
Right.
I mean, 9 hit points, they just don't cut it.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to try it right away. I just scripted up a whole set of it this morning with the late age Pan game, and I'm going to try.
Yeah, Pan can do it.
Centaurs alive
as
slaves.
The rule for turbo communions is you can support as many masters as you have HP regen. And it's more complicated than that, but that rule works most of the time. So
that's a good rule of thumb.
If you can get 5 HP regen on your slaves through a mix of like HP plus HP items and then stacking regen, you can have 5 masters. Maybe. Yeah, and large. Coral swords. You can actually stack enlarge with the growth amulet, or the growth amulet too, if you're really being intense about it.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, there's different ways. If you get up to 8 regen a turn, then that means you can have 8 masters go for the entire combat. So, anyway. Okay. Scrotty SC will be there to defend.
A Scrotty SC. So this is not the Scrotty we saw that's cheaply geared.
Right.
If he's using the term I'm using, I'm thinking full slots filled.
Yeah. So we'll see what he has.
That's a dangerous beast.
Yep. You don't want to mess with those. And, potentially there's some... Construction 4 is going to unlock some kind of cool gear, like the Rhyme Hallberg for Scrotty, too.
He means his Scrotty Pretender.
Oh, okay.
See, he's talking about he could have taken the Keeper of the Bridge instead of buying the lower hit point Rainbow.
Right.
And he would have had a little better candles and...
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well.
So we'll have to see. I mean, this is a kind of cool light thug Pretender chassis, or heavy thug Pretender chassis with the paths he has.
Yeah.
Okay, so he had done some raiding. He's kind of pulling back. He's worried about the throne, but he's got a Scrotty here. He's worried about Pelagia, but nothing's happened. He took this throne, which didn't cost him hardly anything.
No. Well, it doesn't... It was mainly phantasmals, so...
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Maybe some air elementals here. Skeletons, which they don't care about.
Oh, that's a shame. Really?
Oh, it's not going to use its air gems. Wow.
Oh, he just didn't send a big enough army. It didn't trigger.
Oh, you think that's what it is?
That's exactly what it is, in my opinion. The army comparison, the AI does my army's bigger than yours, so I don't need to spend my gems.
I thought that was based a lot on HP, and I'm pretty sure these guys brought more HP.
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I think...
But I think you're right. No, I think you're right. Let's check, see if they use death gems. Oh, no. They used some. It ended combat with 4, and it started combat with 7 death.
So it just used them to reduce fatigue.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, that's terrible.
Okay, yeah, it's down to 6. Dude, the AI likes Horde of Skeletons.
Oh, God.
I mean, it's a good spell, but...
Oh, sure, but...
Well, this is the other thing. It's a Death 3 mage. So that is going to bias it away from... Because it would only... Honestly, it would do one air elemental. It would knock itself out.
And then knock itself out.
And here, it's really getting a lot of death skeletons out. So, I don't know.
Yeah, except, sadly, the AI is not smart enough to cast Power of the Spheres.
Right. Yeah, that would have been... That would have made a really big difference. Especially if it spent 2 gems on it, so it didn't use much fatigue.
Yeah.
Power of the Spheres, and then it could... Yeah, then it could do a hurting. Two big air elementals probably would have killed this.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Well, good job. Good job for Jotun.
Yeah, so, okay, what throne did he get? Throne of Fortune.
Oh.
Which he'll appreciate. He's got Misfortune 1, so that's nice.
Yes, he will.
We'll knock him to neutral.
And 2 pearls is nice.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? It's not a game, but it's a nice one.
On the southern front, there was nothing inside this fort. Kind of what we were thinking.
But, that's that one over there. Yeah, right.
And, oh my god, okay. The thing I'm most excited about this turn, Maryland, is what's happening in Bandar. Because there was potentially going to be a showdown. And I want to see if we had a showdown.
And...
Dang it! There's not...
That's just a ping.
All right. And, okay, well, you see a Jade Sorceress, you think, okay, maybe it's Foul Vapors versus Ulm, but...
No, but I think that one was inside, and he just tried to get it and save it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that was a break, siege, and retreat.
Well, dang it, guys, I was wanting to see...
Bummer.
See, this, though, I don't agree with. Like, especially he knows the nap sending. This is the difference, the main difference, in my opinion, between a dynamic and a static defense. And, like, Bandar has gone into a static defense mindset. If
you can't do that. And the other thing is, we spent a lot of time talking about this earlier, and so I'll be repeating myself, but I think it's worth saying again here because it's happening again, is when you are getting XV1'd, or you're just kind of in the death throes, what matters more than your territory, like first priority is your army and second priority is your forts. The raiding and lands is a third priority when you're getting XV1, like when it's really bad.
I have a little, not an interjection, but sort of a side connection to this. There's a factor here that we haven't really talked about, and I would call that the morale of the player.
Yeah.
Or discouraged or whatever. It has happened to me where I've been in situations like this, and I've been willing to put in all the effort to do complicated extra scripts and really fight tooth and nail to stay alive. And there's been other times where I've just kind of had this,
yeah, give me
I
out.
can't be arsed. Yeah. And I don't give up.
But you're not going to test stuff and all of that.
Yeah, and you're not maybe scripting as accurately or putting that extra time in to move guys on the little setup map and just get timings just right.
Well, and with an Astral Nation, the amount of time you can put into scripting is very high if you want to.
It can be. Well, we did one of those Twitch sessions on that point buffing and with Marverni, and my God, we mucked about moving guys into the squares with each other because I'd not been a big not done a lot of that in that sort of a way in the early game. Later game, it's a different beast. But then we tried doing things like, how do you body ethereal, a water elemental you just summoned, and those sorts of those are that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And even if you only have a dozen.
And the thing is, you learn stuff from it. So you can learn some rules of thumb for like, okay, if I'm going to do water elementals, which will carry on into the next game, so you won't have to test it as much. But
yeah.
The bigger point I wanted to drive at here, though, is if we ranked the priorities, like priority 1 is your armies, because once your armies are dead, like for Naba, the fact he has his cap doesn't matter if his army's dead, right?
That's correct. Well, that's what finished Pythium.
Right.
He did it. He did an attempt, and he did everything he could with what armies he had left. And once they were done, it was game over.
Yep. So armies are priority 1, forts are priority 2, raiding is priority 3. Or counter raiding is priority 3, and raiding itself, where you're raiding the enemy, is priority 4, probably. So
I would slip something in there. You probably are including mages or magi in armies,
right?
But I would kind of put them like in between armies and forts, in that depending on your situation, that's where you can sort of turn a boring, kind of hopeless defense into something that might, the wipeout of Agartha.
Yeah. That was done by the mages of Naba.
By the mages, hiding behind a line of great big archers who really didn't do much.
Yeah. That's a great point. And that should be the hardest part of finishing off a nation, is having to kill their mage core.
Mm-hmm.
And
unless you trap them somehow.
And if you think about it, if you look at them in these priorities, everything in some way subordinates to the priority above it. So the mages subordinate to the priority of the army, which is above it.
Well, if you don't have any army,
the mages are no good.
I have one of my other games. I just watched a guy set up a really big 36 shaman communion with a little bit of PD, and it got wiped out by imps.
Yeah.
Like all 36 were dead by about round 5 by simple imp spam.
Yep.
Because there was nothing to block. So, I mean, stack wiping a big blob of magi, there are certain dirty tricks, such as Xibalba in this game can do it with his Zots. So that's an important thing. Like, I agree with you that the magi are right important there in the army, but without some troops, they won't live long enough to matter.
Right, and you should use your mage, like when you're in this desperate situation, you have to use your mages to keep your army alive. That's like the thing.
That's right.
And the other thing is you can, this is the part I'm repeating myself, but while the army is the number one priority, you must take fights. And if you lose your army, then you lose the game. But you cannot be in a desperate XV1 position like this and ever refuse a fight like this. Like, Ulm has given you the opportunity to have a fight.
Yeah.
You basically must take it. And if you lose, you lose. And maybe you would delay if like you were going to get Soul Slay this next turn, which he's not going to.
You mentioned last turn. I mean, Bandar had an opportunity to try to wipe out that lone little ulmish army down on the southwest.
Right.
He chose not to. Now, you argued as well that you didn't think that was his best move, and maybe not. But it was a possibility.
Right.
And the other possibility was his entire stack trying to... See, the only thing I can think, and this might be what he's thinking, is there's some one turn away research widget that he's going to get this turn, and he was waiting for that.
See, I think versus Ulm, you have... I mean, maybe he had Light of the Northern Star coming up.
It's possible.
But, I mean, aside from that, or Soul Slay's too far off. There's no way he's going to have Soul Slay. He might have Light of the Northern Star coming, because you also get, for Bandar Log, some cool summons and Conjuration.
Paralyze isn't bad, but...
if he had that coming up, and he could get his Yogis to Astral 2 so they could Mind Burn, that might be worth it.
But we also did the calculation that he only ever had 2 forts that could make Yogis.
Right.
And one was his capital. So he probably only has 5 Yogis.
Oh, God. I hope he has at least 10. I mean, it's turn 20. He's lost some.
2 gurus. We saw 2 gurus and 2 Yogis wandering around with the army for a while.
Yeah, you're right. He's probably been making the better mages out of his capital. The gurus.
Or the Rishi. But, well, we haven't seen any Rishi, though.
So we'll see. I think this is a misplay, and we're going to still get to see our big battle. Fortunately, the army's still there. I'm stoked to see what happens, but I feel like the thing is, now, even if he wins a battle, he loses.
You're just disappointed because this episode's not going to have any really interesting fights.
That too, damn it.
I'm not seeing anything interesting here.
Okay.
Not yet.
Well, okay, to continue this thread, do we have a message from Van? We don't. Basically, elves being elves.
Smuckety smuck. And the big one, 27.
So he has them scripted. Just a line.
Smack.
He has made really good use of these Valkyries, I'll say.
Well, and he's changed up his script now to suit the Valkyries better. So he's having the Vans way far forward,
right,
rushing straight in to be sure that they are in contact before the Valkyries try the snipe.
That's a really good point. I think that's a great call.
That's a good script. It's a good script. And that would be if there was a mini communion or something, that would have busted it up.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what other gains. He might be able to come in and take this. I don't know. I think he's basically done. I don't know.
I think Van got what he wanted.
Yeah.
He got 4 provinces and another fort for dirt cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. Van's, let's see how he's doing in terms of province size. Oh, that moved him to number 2.
Okay. Nice.
That's
a good place to be.
Yeah. Just a little low cost, sniping some stuff.
Absolutely.
Nothing lost.
He's playing very cautious. Not passive, just economically cautious. Or preserving his resources.
Yeah.
That's Kris Lighthawk, okay.
Right. Okay, so we've covered this conflict now.
I think so.
I see something exciting over here that I'm drawn to, which is a throne battle.
Okay. And a very big army still standing.
So this has Springhawks, and then it has this Anuki of the Morning Star, which I'm going to be interested to see what they summon. My guess is air elementals, but it could be it does astral stuff. And then it's also got an Uma Paluka, or however you say it.
So this is one of these double defenders. Yeah.
Right.
And that's a lot of gems.
So let's see what it does. Because, this is a scary looking army.
Can you go back to look at I'd like to see In's formation.
Yes.
Is there anything really... Okay, so this is Magi are well covered by troops all around.
A lot of Magi. We can see
well protected.
it's looking like at least 9 Magi.
Yeah.
And they're going to be spamming out Body Ethereal, and my guess is after 2 turns of Body Ethereal spam, they're going to jump into Communion.
Maybe. Okay, so...
Shock resistance 10.
Okay, so that's enough to at least blunt very significantly the Springhawks.
Yeah.
And he can hit them. They have no protection, but they're ethereal. Yeah, he's taking very limited damage.
And he's got magic weapons, so he's going to go through.
Yeah. So he's just chopping off the field. Oh, there's an air elemental. You were wondering what
a big one.
What Dookie was going to do.
Baby Earth Elemental's coming out, and that one air...
And one water elemental. Did you see that?
Oh, was it a big one? Oh, baby one. Yeah.
2 of them.
Oh,
That's from the little hydromancer.
Right.
Down in the corner there. And the lines hit, and Ind is just happily holding his line.
Ooh, Earth Meld. Very nice.
Nice.
Okay, these guys did jump into a Communion. This is one of the masters. Does he have summon? He doesn't have summon Earth Power, which would be really nice to.
Are we going to see meteors fall? I think it's too early in the game.
Yeah.
But that would be the classic right about now. Rocks fall.
But these Earth Melts are very effective right now.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's good stuff. Fireball. Well, he's way off script, so it's whatever. Oh, fire darts.
This is very clean.
I'm surprised the independents haven't run. Oh, this is probably it. But the statues
Right.
will never run. And they're not easy to chop up.
19 hit points. How the hell does it get that many? HP plus 9. Oh my god. How did I miss that as part of their bless?
I missed that. Holy crap.
Wow.
That's a lot of nature magic.
Yeah. It makes sense though. You want HP on these guys, I tell you what. But I think larger is better because you have it on the strategic map.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah.
9 hit points from the little 2 per nature path. Well, he'd have had this done if it hadn't been for the statues, which just won't run away. He's got it finished. There's no trouble. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. I forgot how many archers there were still back there.
Right.
That's why they haven't had a hit point from.
Alright, we'll speed this up now.
Yeah.
Ooh, the Earth Elementals are finally closing in. They were stuck behind these archers.
Well, and more Earth Meld and Smites.
Oh, he's getting blasted before he even gets in.
Claim life.
These guys are at 55 fatigue, 20 fatigue. Okay, they're holding up.
They are. And that's it. Yeah. Look at them chop up those Earth Elementals.
Yeah, and they were a lot of these guys were ethereal, so they didn't take much damage from trample.
Wow.
Well, I can see why Vanheim didn't want to fight this stack, and I can see why Elm felt confident taking a fight against Vanheim. Because that was a very impressive force.
That was well done. Well done.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was fairly simple in that was not complicated scripting. Nice job of choosing his timing on when to put the communion up.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of elements that, I mean, it was first of all, a large commitment of sacreds. He brought a lot of mages. He had, this is a lot of mages for a mid-game army. And the mages all had useful things to do. And this was a hard throne to take. This is a level 3 throne.
Yep. Yeah, this one and the one that's not a throne, that's just that province with that crazy nature site.
Right.
Is that still independent?
I think it is. I think it was near over here. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was just miserable.
Yeah.
And all of that for like a couple of gems.
Yeah.
And a forest.
Yeah, that's You know, if he wanted to do like 5-head plays, he could get a Pandemonic, give it a Black Heart, and then do what is it? Hellbind Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Try to score it.
Oh, that's hard though. I have never succeeded at that.
Yeah, but when better to do it than in a tournament game?
Yeah.
All right, so that's Ind. They've taken this. I don't think there's other movement.
No. Ind's in a nice position, quite a nice position. So, I mean, Ind is sitting there in this interesting option. He could go and eat Agartha right now. As long as he has...
Yeah, he's set up for it.
That's what I'm seeing.
Now, they had a DAP, I thought. I recall them having one.
I suppose we should have taken notes on diplomacy throughout this series, but
right.
I guess we just do it blind each turn.
But he is really well set up for it.
Well, and Agartha's committed quite a lot. Oh, okay. Well, that's what that army's going to do now.
Yeah.
I think somehow Agartha didn't either know or didn't catch on that Ashdod was going to siege Naba's cap.
Yeah.
Because he moved that army 1, 2, 3 turns to get over there, and then now redirected it.
Yep.
Because those magma kids were made in his capital. So he spent 4 turns now humping a slow-moving army around, and it wasn't doing anything terribly productive.
You know, Agartha life. That's what it's like playing Agartha.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
It is. You eat forts instantly, but you got to get to them.
Yeah. And this is going to be annoying if Ind attacks him because he's got some magma children, he's got some stuff here, but he, mostly otherwise out of position. Oh, dude, he got a Hoburg crossbow province.
Oh, that's nice for him.
That's really nice.
That's really nice for him.
Ooh, a little jealous.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't remember. Does Agartha, I know late age Agartha gets really good crossbows. I can't remember if middle age gets any. They don't. Yeah.
No, none. No, getting some ranged power that isn't Earth Mages. I mean, you always have the option of huge amounts of blade wit, but that's all but utterly useless against anything that has any armor.
Well, Agartha also is going to get, ubiquitous Strength of Giants and Flaming Arrows. So he can have very effective crossbows.
If you can get independence. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
To add some range to your... Because I believe Middle Age does get the stone hurlers, but they're fairly horrific.
Yeah.
There was a time when they were sort of interesting in the game, but that's long past.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Agartha. He's positioning to go for this throne. Ind is at his southern border.
That's what it looks like.
Ashdod still camping out on top of Naba's capital.
Another turn or two, probably.
Right, he's got a huge Bakemono force over here, which, these are stealthy, so I wonder what he's planning on.
I don't know. The soft, sweet underbelly of Xibalba. Oh, here we are.
We got a message from him. Bidding on mercs for the Naba siege. I'm sure you'll wonder why I'm so ill-prepared. Well...
No, we don't buy. Because, we saw this. When Agartha's army got killed, we were having that discussion. Okay, which one of these guys is going to deal with that? Because if they don't lock that cap down, Naba's just going to continue to harass them all.
Right. Absolutely right. So he's starting to get slingers for siege check to speed it up because it's good versus elves and frogs without hats.
And he gets the little bit beefier than usual slingers, I believe.
Oh, is that right?
Well, I think so. Or it's either Gath or Ashdod. Those guys. No, they're just plain humans.
Yeah.
No. I'm mixing that up with something else.
I believe Jotun to be engaged with picking pieces of Bandar Log, who's getting 3v1 and fighting with Vanarus. Yeah, that's true. That's what's happening. The map move around Naba is Tororus. I guess
torturous.
Torturous. Okay. I thought it meant like a toroid.
No, I believe he means torturous.
Okay. With the double river into the swamp. Also, northeast of Naba is a certain death site, so don't fancy slow walking through it.
Oh, Did we spot that earlier? Is that
You
the
probably
disease
did.
site? I think I remember it, but so northeast of.
Oh, this one.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it.
That's a nuisance. So yeah, he doesn't really want to walk.
He has to, or go through the swamp.
I see what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that
that
does
is
suck.
a pain in the butt.
Yep.
Okay. Now I see what he's getting at.
Bringing my size 1 Bakemonos to siege as well. Okay, so that's what he's planning on using this for.
Right.
They'll
Right.
fill in nicely under our big fucking giant's feet.
Right, because they're size 5.
Right. Assuming they don't get outright fried. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, by fire elementals and flaming this and flaming that.
Yes. Okay. So that's what's going on with him. Did we miss some of the things that we've covered?
We haven't talked about Pan yet, but you're kind of working the column.
Yeah, we'll
so
work the column.
Go ahead and do it that way.
Wait. Okay, wait. If this was... Where we came up from this guy. So, okay. Uruk, not much is happening.
Very quiet.
Very
Which
quiet.
is why we missed some of his really interesting moves, like that we'd missed that he'd taken that throne because he's been so quiet.
Yeah.
He doesn't say much, and he's building forces and he's just playing close to home.
And I think it's because he's got a scales build and is not trying to overplay his hand right now. He's going to need research to use his excellent mages. M.A. Uruk gets excellent mages. And I don't know. He probably figures he doesn't have a huge advantage in an early war. But
well, and he's also got some strange movement limits. You look at that northern throne he's got.
Right.
If you wanted to push into Naba or Sati, it's kind of bits of diagonals and rivers.
If Ind attacks Agartha, it would be an interesting move for to attack Ind. He could also go into Pan, but God, who wants to fight Pangaea? He could also go into Xibalba. That might not be bad. But you've got to deal with the Titan, which, in my opinion, if you're going to fight into Xibalba, I think I would want Soulslay, which I don't think he's there yet.
But that's another case of fairly awkward movement lines. His movement lines towards Pan are maybe better.
Yeah. Tricky.
I mean, the softest underbelly for him right now is Sitis. I mean, that's just a direct 2-move stomp to Sitis's capital. He may know that Sitis has no other forts, shut down the cap.
I don't think he takes Sitis, though.
Do?
I mean,
he might not,
because he doesn't know. What he knows is there's no troops over here. What he probably doesn't know is the research graph.
No.
Where Sitis is double his research.
Look at home.
Yeah, this is gonna inflect upwards, not level out.
Yeah, this is gonna get.
This is really important too because, I was saying there's like a mid-game timing where it's going to be a really bad matchup fighting Pangaea as Ulm, and that's because of Foul Vapors.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to shoot past that mid-game way faster than most. Like, we talk about early game, mid-game, late game. A lot of that is just research.
But he hasn't had to commit Magi to anything except a bit of gear.
Right.
Unlike almost everybody else who's had to roll out some Magi. Pan, barely.
Right.
But most of the others, a lot of the others have had Magi that have had to roll out. Uruk, not so much. And he's got pretty good research.
But he's going to be getting Enchantment 7 probably pretty quickly with Ulm. And he has Shamans, which means he can do, he can do Serpent's Blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And if he has, let's say he has Enchantment 7, Protection 7, and he's got, Construction 6, which, it sounds like a lot for what turn we are. That's probably only 14 or 15 turns away for Ulm at this rate, because this is going to keep bending upwards. He can have Mass Protection, Fog Warriors, and Serpent's Blessing. And I'm pretty sure that will stomp the shit out of Pangaea.
And that's also if that's where he decides to target.
Right. Right.
So.
But
yeah, that research graph, I mean, Sitis is still doing very well. But he's now limited, although it's a lot better. He's limited by he can only buy so many magi.
Well, he just got his second fort.
Yeah.
He didn't build a single other fort because his strategy was we can spend all the gold we need to just on Marshmasters, which was true. He was killing research. Well, now he's got another fort. Drops a lab in here, gets twice the RP production.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see how he plays this next. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
So the last message, I think, is Pangaea.
We have
anybody talking to us.
I hate diplomacy, and as soon as anyone dares me to do it, I'll cancel all my naps in the public channel.
All right. Well, I don't know his sense of humor well enough to know if that is totally a joke or actually sort of true.
I don't think anybody wants to fight Pangaea.
No.
It'd be very awkward for Jotunheim. Like, if anything, Pangaea, I think, is a little bit... He's been very conservative. He's had no losses. His research is starting to come online. We can see dryads starting to pop out. I think he's ready for his next meal, or getting there.
Well, and invading into dryads, unfun.
It's unfun. It is unfun.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't think he feels like he needs... I think... it's one of the things, like, to nap or not to nap. I think the underlying game state, though, right now is Pangaea feels the opposite of overextended. He feels extremely comfortable in the land he has.
If he can lock down a couple more thrones, he's in a superb position.
Yeah. And he's moving in for this one, it looks like.
I don't see competition on two of those thrones. Jotun is in no place to compete with the throne on their shared border.
Right. He could honestly get all three of these.
He could. Yeah.
And the throne condition for winning is 8. So he'll be halfway there with these 4.
Yeah, that's... Then fort them up, lock them down, play quiet until you've prepared which ones you're going to take next.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, so he's probably going to have Mother Oak coming up soon, but the other thing is Pangaea kind of wants to get into, especially once they get Swarm, they kind of want to have a mid-game war right around now just to improve magic diversity, because they're going to get a few mages from Seduction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing to think about. And he probably would want these juicy Astro Mages from He would also probably like to get some Sethkona or Gaija. Or not Sethkona, what are they called? Is this...
That's a really good point.
It's Gaija or... I always forget, they mix up this thing. But he would...
Yarnvidya.
Yeah.
Yarnvidya or something like that.
But getting some of these Astral Mages that are going to be easy to fight in assassination battles from either of these two players, I think would be great.
That's a good call.
Or,
he doesn't get...
Or Master Smiths would be great too.
Yeah, but he doesn't get a heck of a lot from Agartha.
Right. The other thing is these, like, Astral is, like, when you have improved casting AI mod on, which is on in this game...
Yeah.
Most of the mages, if you give them gems of their respective type, are going to be much harder to assassinate if you have decent research. Astral mages are the exception. Astral mages suck in assassination battles still. So
you know what sucks in assassination battles are blood magic.
That too. That's the other
because you don't get to bring your slaves.
Yeah.
And I'm even playing a game where we have your gem gen mod, and those damn things don't give me any slaves in assassinations.
They don't?
They don't seem to.
Huh. I thought they did.
That's a real bummer, because even 2 slaves, that's one cast of imps.
A huge difference.
So I lost some Dakini that way, and it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
So now I'm sending all my Dakini out with air gems, just in case.
Yeah. And that will make a big difference in these assassination battles, but You know, for these guys, I think they have a cross path, like the good Uruk ones. They've got.
I'm a big fan that if you're going to start an assassination or seduction war, you don't telegraph it. You get everybody in place,
Yeah.
and then 20 of them hit in one turn.
Yep.
And then they run away if they have to. Because you just don't give them a chance to go, oh, here it comes, and I'm the target.
Right.
So he hasn't scripted. They're sitting in their lab, fiddle diddle. Didn't spread gems all over.
This would be the ideal target. And if he puts a nature gem on them, they'll be able to do swarm, and so they can kind of defend themselves. But look at that morale, it's 9. So this would be the ideal target. But like you were saying, if he does that mass alpha strike, nobody is going to have one nature gem sitting on all their mages just because,
People don't do that.
But if you're getting stuff gradually picked off, all of a sudden you're going to be like, all right,
of course
God damn it, all right, I'll put gems on all my mages.
But I had years ago, I had a friend in this game who would do exactly that. He'd kind of go, okay, where are my threat vectors? Which countries, which nations might be attacking? And he'd start prepping scripts for every single research mage in the whole game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, that's clever.
That is a micro, that's a level of, yeah. And very few players are invested enough. Part of that as well, though, is how many games you play.
Yeah.
If you only play one game at a time, then it's not so bad or maybe two, it's not so bad to be super meticulous of every little detail.
Right.
But if you're busier and you like a little more action.
Yeah, that might not be for you then.
Yeah. But anyways, I agree with you that I don't think anybody, even though we got really skilled players, most of these players like to play quite a lot, and they're probably in quite a lot of games, and this is a fast-paced game.
Right.
So they're going to have to take some shortcuts in the extreme micro.
Yeah. Okay, so Pan may be setting up for thrones, maybe thinking about knifing one of his neighbors.
But he's not telling us.
Right, but he's very confident in his defense of his lands, which I think makes sense. Does not feel like he needs snaps to protect him. Satis, we've already talked about. They took this fort.
One little thing about Pan. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't made another attempt on the sea trolls.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not very hard to kill. Now, there's something you can thug against.
Yeah.
Because they basically can't hit a defense thug.
Well, there's a sea king here, too, and he'll do water strike.
Yeah, you do have that.
So,
but that's just a case of, that's a place where, like, I've pushed against sea trolls that look pretty dangerous, simply because they just have such terrible stats.
Yeah.
And fairly small armies can take them of fairly junky kind of crap.
Yeah, I think he could take it. I mean, maybe getting like a pills of water breathing, he doesn't have air mages. So I don't know, something to get troops underwater, and like 10 White Centaur would murder all that.
Yeah. So I'm surprised he hasn't gone back, because he did have it, and they can be very valuable for gems, water provinces.
Right, and pretty good you don't want Pelagia getting their flag in there where they can claim it wasn't a violation of an app.
Well, he asked for it, and
right.
He said no. No, he asked, I believe Pelagia asked Jotun if he could go over top his fort to it.
Right.
And Jotun said no.
So we'll see. I think we've covered everything, though, now, haven't we? I think we've made through all the columns.
If we want to do a quick summary, the big surprise to me is no move by Pelagia.
Right. And no...
Everything's sitting there.
Yeah.
All those raiding parties are sitting there, and he didn't move them.
What Well, technically, he has a nap with Jotun, apparently. So we'll see what...
Okay, so... Because if you're going to buy, what is a 300 gold worth of mercs...
Oh, yeah.
That can't move anywhere, and you're going to leave them sitting there...
This is his second time having these Skull Smashers. He paid for them the first time, hasn't used them. Yeah.
So 500 or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well. And does he have a fort going up here? Oh, yeah, okay. He's got a fort building now, so...
Oh, okay.
He might be waiting for this fort to finish before he goes off to war.
Maybe.
Okay, well, I think that's it. We're over an hour, so thank you.
good.
Thank you for joining me, Maryland.
Yeah, another productive day. 2 videos. We're getting caught up.
Yeah, we'll be caught up in no time.
That'll be good. I'm looking forward to actually going and reading that channel because I keep trying to stay away from there.
Yeah, it'll be good. All right, and thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time.
All right.